When it comes to hiring, don't go searching for the one. Just meet your match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a beverage from 450 North Brewing, the official beverage of the Indy 11 Coaches Show. Now, let's get an inside look at the players, tactics, and opponents with Indy 11 head coach Sean McAuley.
Episode 2 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers with the aforementioned head coach Sean McAuley. Welcome back, Sean. Thanks for joining us once more. First of all, in the spirit of transparency, we're recording this the last week of March. It comes out the first week of April, so we're right into the spring. Weather is good. I wanted to ask you, are you a golf guy at all?
I used to play golf quite regular when I was a player because you get more free time and it's a good way to unwind. And, you know, obviously we could only play up to Wednesday. They didn't like us playing on Thursday and Friday before a game. But I played in Scotland, so the golf courses in Scotland were phenomenal.
Did you ever get to St. Andrews?
Yeah, St. Andrews, Glen Eagles, and where I lived in Perth. Perthshire has some fantastic courses.
Wow, cool. Well, as the newest permanent member of Indiana, or newest homeowner at least, congratulations on that. There's golf courses right around you to go and check out. If you are anything like me, libations during the golf course and during the golf round are needed. Which brings us to our drink of the day from 450 North Brewing Company. Today is Slushy XL, blueberry, strawberry, and marshmallow smoothie-style sour ale. I was on a dry spell last time we recorded, so I wasn't able to have. So I was pretty excited for this today. So. And it was also really cool to see 450 North Brewing on the west deck, I believe, in the stadium this past weekend. East deck. But really cool to see all the signage. And so we want to thank them for being an official beverage partner of the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast. Okay, let's get right into things. We'll talk a bit more tactics today than we did last time because we kind of got your background last time. So you got here near the end of January, middle end of January, when you already had like half of a team here. So I'm kind of curious, what did you kind of do action steps wise to sort of those first couple weeks to set yourself up for success at the helm? What conversations did you have? Who did you talk to first?
Well, obviously you have to look at the current squad and the players and see what, you know, fit into the vision of how you want the game to be played. And you have to give them the opportunity to, because they're under contract, to try and, you know, make sense of what you're trying to deliver in terms of style of play. And to be fair to the players, the first couple of weeks of pre-season, they did really well. And we needed to add a couple of players. And we signed Augustine Williams, which, you know, I'd worked with before and I knew would be a good signing for the club. And then we've had little pieces along the way, you know. The O'Brien brothers have come in at different times and done really well. But yeah, you know, we're sort of getting towards that area now where we're at full strength and maybe a couple of players need to get some games somewhere else.
Can I specifically, I'm curious about this one because it's a bit of a unique situation, but the first conversation you had with Aiden Quinn. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the league, but out for an extended period right now. I'm curious about, you know, just what you guys said to each other the first meeting.
Well, I had a meeting with all the squad when the day before it got announced, just to introduce myself and, let them know what, we were going to try and achieve. And then I called Aidan, personally got his number, and I give him a ring because, it's sometimes difficult when you're injured and a new coach comes in and you want to impress that coach, but yet you can't get on the field. So I just made him aware of, I'd be looking forward to him coming back, and, I want to keep him around, keep him part of it, keep him, engaged with the group. And he's been really good in terms of trying to get back fit. So we look forward to the day when he does get back to join the squad full time and contribute on the field.
Yeah, seeing him, go through his rehab process and taking steps, it's cool to see and encouraging for sure. Another thing I'm curious about, I don't know whether this happens sort of after the hire takes place or during the interview process, but sort of like the 5-year plan, the things down the road, especially because with us, those are super exciting things with the stadium coming soon, the whole district around there, and, plans in the early stages with Grand Park as well. Do you hear about those in the interview process? Do you hear more about those once you're hired, and how much of those were kind of factors in your decision-making of kind of wanting this to be your destination?
I think a little bit of everything. I think everybody does know about it. It's well publicised that Indy 11's a good, strong, club, franchise in the USL. Players and people speak positively about us, which is a really, really good thing. Then the exciting times in the new stadium and sort of, having more influence over the training ground also gives you a good understanding of where the club wants to get to, and that sort of matches of where you want to be, because you want to try and play and coach at the highest level possible. So, it was a factor, but I think it was more so when I spoke to, ownership and Greg and understood that what they wanted from a coach was similar to what I could give them, and that's the match that really tipped it in the favour of me saying, yeah, that's a really good opportunity for me.
Yeah. So once you're in, obviously you come with tactics that you want to play or tactics that you have played in the past, whatever it may be. Did you take a period to kind of figure out whether you could implement those, how quickly you could implement those, and sort of what specific things were the keys to figuring that answer out?
It's really simple. I'm not going to be one of them coaches that turns around and says, it's all about rotation and all that sort of language that modern day young coaches want to use. We want to try and score goals and stop the ball going in our own net. And in order to do that, we need to get the ball in the opposition's half, because 80% of goals are scored from within an area of the 18-yard box. So my initial thought and conversations with the players were, I'm not interested in 55 passes in your own 18-yard area and going nowhere. I want to make it exciting for the supporters. I want to make sure that the opponent, when the players have been in a game and recognise the fact that we're going to run, fight, tackle, challenge, and then when we do get in the opposition's defending third, we're going to play and we're going to try and create things, and we're going to try and allow that freedom for the forward players to do what they're good at, which is, make runs, clever play, combination play, try and beat players and try and make as many attempts at the opposition's goal as we possibly can, because that's what the supporters want to see.
When did you sort of develop that as your I guess, mantra, or that those being the things that you want to see from your team?
I think that's just my own personal opinion. And, there'll be people out there with data and stats and everything else that will look at it and go, modern day football is about going towards the opposition's goal. There are two teams that play a different type of way, and they pass the ball in just about every area of the pitch, which is Man City and Barcelona. Man City spend probably the most money of any club in order to get the perfect player to play that role. And even sometimes Man City can't do it. So now I look at all the other teams that are playing, and you look at Tottenham, you look at Liverpool, you look at, sort of Bayern Munich, Leverkusen even. They play a way which, wants to get the ball into dangerous areas and attack from there. Is it modern day where every team wants to counter-attack? Probably that's what you look at. If you looked at, the there's been big games, obviously, with the European, and it's been International Week. But if you looked at the Manchester United-Liverpool game in the Cup, it's just end-to-end, and it's just toe-to-toe. And I think that's where, if you look at, there's probably going to be a trend over the next 10 years of defending structure will be something, but I think it'll be more based around what teams do in attack. And, that's where my viewpoint and philosophy is. I want to try and score goals. So we're going to try and put the ball into areas where we can score.
Yeah, I think we've seen that already too. Especially, we talked after the game against Sacramento. There was 4 or 5 forwards on at the end of the game. So going for it, I know is your speciality.
I think that's just again upbringing wise. Everybody's heard of Fergie time. It's and it's interesting because a lot of teams adopt that. If they're losing, they just want to put the ball in the box. And we'll do everything we possibly can to try and win a game. So if it means putting more forward players on and risking something of being down 1-0, I'd rather try and go for it and maybe lose 2-0 than 1-0.
Yeah.
Obviously, each game will have its different mechanism towards it because of goal difference and when you get down to the business end of the season. But I want the players to have the mindset of trying to win everything.
You feel they've adopted that pretty well?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, yeah. I think they've bought into it because it's been difficult because, previously in the last couple of years it's been a very possession-based approach, like a build-out from the back. I think I saw a stat where we've doubled our passing range this year compared to the previous year, which I think is a load of garbage because what we've done is the goalkeeper now takes his goal kicks and puts them into areas where we can try and attack from rather than playing it square 3 yards. So if you average the amount of times he has the ball, he's probably not just doubled it, he's probably times it by 10. And that then skews all the other data that goes into it. But, we're at the mercy of people having these opinions and what we'll do is if you looked at is Cam Lindley passing it longer, is Jack Blake passing it longer, is Seba passing it longer, and they're probably not, but one person is.
So one thing I'm curious about too, this is I guess sort of a little bit of a tangent. I'm curious for you at your career at this point, what the driving factor is. You've reached the pinnacle in this country. You've lifted an MLS Cup. I think of my personal experience in a very young career. I'm trying to get better at what I'm doing, take a next step. What are those things that you're chasing in your career at this point?
I want to try and get the players to a position where they can win something, and that could be anywhere. My responsibility is to the players to give them success and give as much as I possibly can on a day-to-day basis to make them successful and let them get the reward of being successful. In terms of what I get on the back end of that is if they're successful and we can all lift a trophy together, then that's fantastic. But I would say that my priority is to make sure that they are put into a position where they can succeed, and if they succeed, then they'll have better careers and they'll have a better time, and everything, them will just roll into me feeling as though I've done my job and got successful. And then, no matter where you're playing, the supporters want to see the team succeed. So we have a responsibility to the supporters and everybody that's associated with the club that we're the sort of final piece of what everybody sees on a weekend of all the hard work that gets done through the week.
How much would you say that sort of the results are predicated on that for you, the work throughout the week? How much the stuff that people don't see, and not even on the field, like in the training ground and stuff like that, how much do those little moments kind of affect that end goal, that end result?
They affect it a lot. We've got to make sure that we do the right things through the week in order to, make sure that we either change or maintain the behaviours of the players to be able to get them in a position to win a game, and that just includes all of us, yourself included, when we come to the training ground, we're working and we're working towards a result. The problem that everybody has at the training ground that Monday to Friday, nobody cares. Because the supporters want to see the team win. So nobody says, if we get beat at a weekend, yeah, but we trained really well. So it's vital that we do the work, Monday to Friday, all the analytics, all the analysis on the opponent, all the tactical stuff that we work with the players, the physical stuff, then the psychological, aspect of making sure that every player's confident and the players who aren't playing are in a position where they can come in and affect and influence the game. All that work needs to be done, but realistically, nobody's going to say well done if we get beat.
Yeah. Well, the first game we did get beat. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious for you. The last thing you said on the podcast we did last month was the one thing you didn't get in preseason was a bit of adversity of going behind or losing a game or stuff like that. It only took 2 minutes in the first game. It's one of those where you're sitting at home, you're like, did that just happen? On the sideline, what are you thinking 2 minutes in when you're down 1-0?
That was a weird sort of situation because I didn't expect us to be 2-0 down and we were doing all right. And at that moment in time, I thought, well, if we keep playing, we'll get the game back. And we did. And then at half-time, I thought, we'll probably go on and win it because out of the 3 games that we've had so far, that was our best performance. Created the most chances, had the most of the play. But football's a cruel game because sometimes you don't get rewarded for the effort and the work that gets put in. We didn't get a reward in that game. We went through a little bit there. So that took us into the second game. Second game, we were, up against it a little bit. I think Jack mentioned, we're on a bus for a long time.
Yes. Or layovers and cross-country plane trips.
Yeah, so it's being on a bus for 8 hours is not an ideal thing, and we had a little sickness bug, so we were going into that game going, we have to, talking about adversity, we have to buckle down here and make sure we put in a performance because we're up against it a little bit, and the players are fantastic. And then the last game, we probably played against, I would say, the best team in the league. And, like I said earlier, they're a good team, but they also know they've been in a game against us.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That Oakland game, being the first cross-country trip with layovers and multiple plane trips and stuff, I guess just, that was the first time for you doing it with us. How was it? Was it all right?
It was all right, yeah. It reminded me a little bit of when we used to have to do it in the MLS, before it was chartered flights. That was the normal thing. And when I was with Portland, we had a tough travel schedule in Portland because,
you're up in the farthest corner of the country
and
possible.
I think the year we won it, because of fixtures and our East Coast fixtures, I think we travelled the most miles out of any MLS team. So there's no excuse. It's just you just got to get on with it. It is tougher when I don't mind the plane as such because you can get on the plane a few hours, stretch your legs. The bus rides are tough, and I think the players find the bus rides tough. But fair play to them. They get on with it. We get to the hotel and sleep and go and try and perform.
Yeah. I mean, I can say firsthand as well, being on the bus trips, it's sometimes, I think I'm still catching up on sleep from the Memphis one.
Yeah.
You're getting back 3-4 in the morning and, then you've got to go back to work in less than 24 hours. So,
yeah. I think we spent more time on the bus than we actually did in Memphis.
It was, the trip down was like extra long too.
Yeah, because we got caught in a bit of traffic.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, we get down there at, what was it, about 9 o'clock?
Yeah, left, 12:30?
Yeah.
So
that's 8.5 hours, and it was 8.5 hours on the way, 8 hours on the way back. Yep. So that's 16.
Yeah.
We left at 6 o'clock after the game. So we were, I think, probably, I don't know, we'd be around about
even,
that time.
Yeah, if not more. Also, without the televisions working on the first day of March Madness, with all those thrown out there, so we gotta make sure those are going next time. Memphis was cool for me because I got to see one of your team talks for the first time, which I really enjoyed. I'm just curious about the process for you behind a team talk. How do you decide what to say, what needs to be said? and you kind of give 2, I guess, before you leave the hotel, and then in the dressing room right before kickoff. So I'm curious on that whole process.
Yeah, I think it's important to give them the reason why we're here, and that sometimes can be linked to what's happened through the week, the challenge that we face, the current mindset of the squad, and then always in the locker room before we go out, something to remind them of what we've been working on, what the opposition's strengths and weaknesses are. That's the last reminder. And then obviously, just before we go out to play, making sure that they're fully focused on the opportunity that we've got.
How do you keep them from being, you give 34 in 30-ish weeks, so how do you keep them from being repetitive? Or do you want them to be repetitive?
You've said repetitive 3 times there. Is that a play on words?
Yeah.
So I think it's something that you can feel it out. There is always something different, something changing, something challenging us. And I've always got in my mind of what I want to do. In the first game we spoke about the value of the shirt. The names on the front that needs some history. The names on the back has already got history, and that's yours. Maintain that. That's something that I thought was important for us through the season. And again, it'll be something that's linked to the opponent, the game, the mindset of our squad, and there is always something.
It's becoming more and more popular to see cameras inside of the dressing room and stuff like that, and I'm obviously thankful that you're comfortable with that internally with us. I think about Fergie never let cameras or anything in the dressing room. What has made you comfortable with opening that space up to more people?
I think the world's changed. I think everybody's changed. This is part of the job now. And everybody's got better at it. It's understanding what's appropriate, what's not. And I think it's changed, and it's part of the game, and it's part of our responsibility as coaches to embrace that change and accept that this is part of it, because we want to be able to show our supporters what it is like on the inside of a dressing room and what the players are going through in the locker room. And yeah, I'm more than comfortable with people being in there. That doesn't worry me at all.
In that game, it was an interesting one once you went in at halftime because you're up 2-0, but Memphis get a man sent off right at the end. Your philosophy playing against 10 men, does anything change? Do you notice the game changing, the feel of it at all usually when that happens?
I think that there is a change, obviously a natural change for the opposition. You should always be wary of somebody with nothing to lose. So that's they had nothing to lose, so they can come out. The game's always evened up when you're playing against 10, or whether you've got 10 on set plays. That's the chance, the opportunity for you get to score. But my mindset for that game was we needed to try and get the third goal, because I think the third goal would have killed it off, killed the challenge off. We had a couple of chances. I'm pleased Augie got his goal last week because he had a chance, and I thought, he needs to get off the mark and get up and running. But we didn't, and then we conceded in the last sort of second, and it's a win, and that's ultimately the objective was to win, and we did. We did really well in the first half to put them under that much pressure to be able to get the goals. And then I would say the sending off was really good for us in terms of a physical perspective, because we were struggling physically. Like we had a lot of players down who were sick. Danny Barbier came into the game and trained 2 days.
Yeah.
Only 2 days all pre-season, because he's off the back of a knee injury that kept him out for every day of work. So he got injured on the first day pre-season up until that. So he's trained for 2 days. Almost impossible to play. But we played him. The plan was to bring him off at half-time, but as soon as they got the man sent off, it was then, well, can he get through? And it helped us, the man sent off. In terms of the performance in the second half, we just got through it. I'm not going to lie. We got through and got the 3 points and got on the bus and came home.
Yeah, win is a win.
Yeah.
Do you revisit that with the guys after? Like, if there's performances that, like, aren't to the standard you'd like?
Yeah, we reflect on every game. So our working week is on a Monday. We'll do a reflection video of the game. On the Thursday, we'll do a tactical video on the opposition. On a Friday, we'll do the tactical video of set plays. So everything gets sort of the players' understanding of how we want to approach every game, and then we'll also reflect on it on the Monday.
And then the next week was Sacramento. Like you said, probably the best team in the league. Was it for the whole regular season last year? They looked good again. They returned a whole bunch of players. But it kind of feels like, we put down a marker on Saturday of kind of, what to expect of things to come. Obviously, you'd like 3 points every time you're at home, but that could be a point later in the season that looks a lot better.
Yeah, never underestimate, the value of a point, because it could take you over the line. They are a good team, and they've built it quite well. But like I said, they know they've been in a game now, and I'm not sure what they were expecting when they turned up to play against us, because obviously word gets around. It's maybe a different style of play. We want to win the ball back as early as we possibly can, and they're a possession team. Now, they had a lot more possession than us, but we had more possession in their off the field than they did ours. So we look at the statistics after the game, and that's where the value of statistics can make it say whatever really you want it to say. But the fact of the matter was, I think out of all of the possessions, I think we were at 65% of ours possessions ending in the opposition half. They were at 63. The difficulty they had, they went into our penalty box more than we did theirs. I think we were at 8, they were at 13. So that I would prefer to have, been flipped on its head. But in terms of where the ball was and where the game was and the average positions of all the players, we were quite aggressive and quite high, and which is what I wanted us to be. I looked at the game in the previous year where the lads played a different system and sat off and allowed the opposition to have the ball, which is, again, a good tactic against a possession team. But you probably have to be better on the counter-attack, and I just felt as though I didn't want to give the opposition that much of the game.
Did the eye test, you watching it in real time, did you feel pretty similarly when you watched it back?
No, I felt as though we could have done a lot better, but then when I watched it back, I thought, the players put the work in, put the effort in, and then when we looked at the data of the game, it sort of it gave the players a lot more credit than what I would have probably done if I was just looking at it. I think sometimes when you look at a game, you look at it through a negative lens anyway, because you always think about the what if.
Yeah.
So I was able to take that away, and again, moments. And I've not brought my computer in because I could show you the video. There's moments where obviously Seba hits the crossbar. There's a moment where Aidan Stanley puts Seba down the line, and it's literally across to Tegger and it's a goal, and the linesman calls offside. And we have the ability to freeze frame that, which again, having worked with VAR and now not working with VAR, I'm pro VAR after working with it, because that could have been a goal. And that's a linesman's mistake of just putting his flag up. And I can show you the freeze frame of
I believe you.
Unfortunately for us, because where the cameras are situated at the stadium, they're offset and it's right in line with Seba's run. But that's sort of making an excuse, because moments happen like that in the game for the opposition as well, I'm presuming. So, they might have got a penalty or, that sort of stuff. But looking back on it, we had chances where, we had chances to win, which is what you want to try and do. You want to try and put your team in a position to win a game.
I'm curious about players, especially early in the season when you've had the sickness, a couple injuries, players that are coming in and starting that, if everybody's healthy, you look on paper, they might not. The one that I go to after Sacramento was Max Schneider. Got himself an assist and I thought played really well. But he's in a midfield that, when they're all healthy and at their best, probably 4 all-league players in Cam Lindley, Jack Blake, Tyler Gibson, and Nathan Quinn. So if Max comes in there and plays at a high level, how do you keep him off the team sheet the next week, and how do you sort of balance that of those 4 guys plus Max plus anybody else who might play really well and try to work themselves into that conversation?
Yep, they've just got to accept when the team gets picked, it gets picked to win a game. There is no other agenda of anything other than playing players to win the game. winning the game generally doesn't happen in the first 15 minutes. Sometimes people say, you don't win a game in the first 15 minutes, but you can lose it. That's why we always want a strong start. So having people that, can influence the game off the bench is a really big important thing for us. We get Dougie Martinez back this week as well. So we'll pick a team that starts the game in order to make us put ourselves in the position to win the game. Knowing that, I'll be bringing players on the field to influence the game at a later stage. And that's probably where I'm not sure whether it's experience or whether I've got that mindset. I don't know. But my plan is always the substitutes have to make an impact. So it's my job to keep them engaged and on plan with what we're trying to achieve. And if they don't start, they might be going onto the field to make us stronger in critical moments of the game. And that's where my decisions sometimes lead to where we go with players like Max, like Dougie, like Tega, who came onto the game, Elliot Colley came into the field. These players are really important for us. I thought the changes that we made against Sacramento really did give us a little bit of a lift. Eunice coming on the field at the time he did. So we'll not second guess what the lineup's ever going to be, but there'll be some changes, and the reason for the changes is one to start and one to finish.
That kind of circles back to the whole buy-in thing that you talked about. I mean, right away, the meet and greet with the fans, and continuously since then. Do you feel like you have that throughout the squad?
Yeah, and there's going to be times when players are unhappy, and that's, I think Jurgen Klopp says it, every weekend 11 people like him and 20 people don't. So, that's just the
part
nature.
Of the game.
Yeah, it's part of the job. And that's, they've just got to stay focused. And I've been in it now since 1988, so what's that, 36 years, 35 years, yeah? It's never worked to play a sulking. Never. So anybody that sulks, it's not going to put them in the team. I'm not going to go down and go, oh, look at him, acting all terrible and showing a really bad attitude. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put him in the team. So in the 35 years that I've been involved in it,
hasn't worked.
It's not worked yet. And I'm probably going to be confident enough to say it's never going to work. So unfortunately, oh yeah, look at him. Oh, look at him pouting over there. He's really upset and he's showing a really bad attitude. I've got an idea, I'll play him. No. So they buy in or it's not working for them and we move them on.
Yeah, you let me know if that changes in year 36.
Yeah, I can't see it.
This also comes out the week. People will be listening to this the week up to LFP-AFC on CBS. I can't wait for that. I'm sure you'll be focused on what happens on the pitch in the 90 minutes, but can you just kind of give your thoughts on everything else that will be going on around it with this, the first USL game on big CBS?
No, it's good. It's good, and it's good that we've been chosen, and it's a good game against Louisville, and it just shows you that we're thought of as being a big draw for it, and I'm really pleased with that. Whatever else surrounds the game, we'll have to manage, and then when it comes to kick-off time, it'll be exactly the same. Other than we recognise who it's against, and it's a derby game, and anybody who says we're going to approach it the same way, you don't. I've been involved in enough rivalry derby games
big ones as well,
where you have to recognise the fact that it means a lot, and we'll head into it with that intensity.
What a day that's going to be as well. Hopefully people are down there cheering us on, but if not, 4 o'clock our game, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock the Final Four of March Madness. So Michigan State's not in it, which I'm very sad about, and I lost a bet to Cam Lindley and his UNC Tar Heels when they beat my Spartans. So sad about that, but that's going to be an awesome day. Couple other things I just wanted to ask you about kind of away from the team. First one is a really brutal international window for Scotland.
Yeah, terrible.
Watching the games at all, did you see anything that was...
The only thing is
since we beat Spain, it's just
but they're friendly games, and that's the only thing. And they qualified for the tournament. They're in the tournament. They'll give it a good go. And like every Scottish supporter, they'll go across and think they can win it, and they've probably got no chance. But will not temper that enthusiasm or expectation, because the supporters, when they travel and they enjoy themselves.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't look at plane tickets right when they
Yeah.
when they booked their trip to Germany.
Yeah, it's it'll be a good tournament, and like I said, it generally in these tournaments the cream will rise to the top, and unlike I don't follow the March Madness, but I just know that everybody's got a bracket killer or something. These teams come from nowhere and knock people out. I think generally in our sport, especially at that elite level, the ones who are favourites will probably be there at the end, and unfortunately that might be the English team.
Fingers crossed that's not for me personally. It was an international window where a lot of young talent scored. Endrick for Brazil, Lamine Yamal for Spain, Jamal Musiala showed out for Germany, and Jude Bellingham obviously is at the top of his game. I'm curious on your favorite young player that you've kept your eye on in the highest ranks lately.
I think Bellingham's got to be completely in the conversation as being maybe the most complete player. I remember speaking to somebody about him when he just joined in the Birmingham team, and he was a man, and it wasn't just his play, it was his attitude, it was everything else that followed it. And then I listened to a podcast with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on, and he said, they had him in the building at Manchester United, and he basically, so he said they got Fergie, Cantona, Ole, and maybe one more. It wasn't Keane, but they got him all to discuss, what it's like to be at Manchester United and represent what they're saying is the biggest club in the world, and this is give you a good platform. And he was only interested in playing, and basically said, I want to be playing 75% of the games in order for me to have the next stage of my career. And he basically had his career planned out.
This is when he was, 16, 17?
17, yeah, 16, 17. So then obviously he gets his move to Dortmund, and knowing that they would sell him on Real Madrid. So that's one. And then all the other talent that's in there. And we've got to recognise the fact that Dougie went and played international football, and it's a big thing, representing your country and playing at that elite level for however long it is. Fair play to Dougie for doing it.
Yeah, congrats to him. And not the first time as well. He's starting to become a regular and getting called up. Obviously, that means we don't have him for some games, so we don't like that. But if there's a reason, there's not many better reasons.
And I would always support it. It's a big thing for him, for his family and everything else. He's, if he can get that, then deserves that.
Yeah, hope it continues in the future for him. All right, so that will do it for the second episode of the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast. Presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Another thank you to 450 North Brewing Company, and we will see you next time.
This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Be sure to like and follow this podcast, and check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. To watch the video version of this podcast, subscribe to the Indy 11 YouTube channel.